What's up everyone? I'm Toasted and this is my first video on this new channel. I have other channel that's for gaming, it's Toasted Gaming, check it out if you're into games. But here, it's all about movies and TV shows. And so this, my official first movie ranking, we're starting strong. With every single Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ranked from worst to best. Because if there's a one man who deserves a ranking this massive, it's the walking definition of what if muscles had an accent. Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger. The man done it all. Barbarian, cyborg, cop, kindergarten teacher, pregnant man, governor, ice pun, war criminal, and somehow we still love him. Now, before we dive into this list, let's talk about how I ranked everything. I went through all 37 movies, from Hercules in New York to Terminator Dark Fate. He had cameos in few other movies, he had very small roles in few others. We're not counting them. If Arnold is not like top 10 most important character in the movie, or top 8, I guess top 10, so we don't count those. He needs to have at least a little bit significant of a role. But now, these are the 5 categories I rated him, to combine everything and make this one definitive ranking. So I ranked quality, on how well the movie was made, fun factor, how entertaining the movie was, Arnold Factor, how much pure Arnold energy the movie delivers, legacy, on how well it aged or influenced pop culture, and originality. I wanted to see how unique or creative these movies were. So yeah, each movie could score up to 50 and well, obviously it was all mostly my opinion. But still, I did peek a bit at critic and audience scores, you know, for a little bit of balance. But if you think that Batman and Robin is a misunderstood masterpiece, I don't think we're watching the same movie. So yeah, since this is my first movie ranking, all I'm asking for is if you like this video and you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and we'll do more. So leave your suggestions. Maybe you want all Stallone movies ranked, maybe Jim Carrey's movies, or every single Fast and Furious movie. Whatever comes to your mind, tell me in the comments below. So, grab your protein shake, flex your nostalgia muscles, and let's find out which Arnold movies are absolute biceps of cinema and which ones deserve to be terminated. So, kicking things off at the very bottom, we've got Red Sonja, the movie that even Arnold used as punishment for his kids. This is a sword and sorcery spin-off with Brigitte Nielsen in the lead, and Arnold as Lord Calidor, and a plot that feels like it was written on the back of a protein shaker. It was a critical and box office flop, and even Schwarzenegger himself called it the worst movie he ever made. The tone is all over the place, the acting is wooden, and the action somehow manages to be both over the top and boring. Arnold isn't even the main character here. He's basically DLC for a game nobody wanted to buy. We're including it because the marketing tried really hard to sell this as a Arnold's third Barbarian movie. It loses even more points because of the lies. Marketing tried really hard to sell this as Arnold's third Barbarian movie. But honestly, this one absolutely gets terminated at 37. In 36th place is Hercules in New York, Arnold's glorious clumsy acting debut, back when he was created as Arnold Strong, Mr. Universe, and his entire performance was dubbed over because of his accent. The movie is exactly what it sounds like. Hercules comes down from Olympus, wanders around New York, wrestles a guy in a bear suit in Central Park, and vibes with a nervous little sidekick. It's cheap, awkward, and looks like it was filmed by a tourist who accidentally made a feature film. But there is some fun in how unintentionally hilarious it is. This is peak so bad it's good cinema. Historically important as the first step in Arnold's career, but as an actual movie, yeah, it belongs near the bottom, lifting the rest of the list like a bad warm-up set. At 35 we've got the Jayne Mansfield story, a made-for-TV biopic where Arnold plays bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay, husband of Hollywood bombshell Jayne Mansfield, played by Lonnie Anderson. This isn't really an Arnold movie in the classic sense, it's Jayne's story, and he's there as the super jacked supporting husband while the film goes through all the usual rise and fall of a star biopic beats. It originally aired on CBS, it looks like a 1980 TV movie, and it feels like a 1980 TV movie. Arnold is fine, you can see flashes of charisma, but he's not the main attraction yet. This is more like a historical curiosity. What if Arnold tried serious TV drama before he started blowing stuff up? Respectable, but not something most people are rewatching. So it lands down here. In 34th place, The Expendables 3. The movie that proved you can have too many action legends in one place, especially if you slap a PG-13 label on them. This is the third entry in the franchise, directed by Patrick Hughes, with a massive ensemble cast, and Arnold, back as Trench Mauser, Barney's old rival turned ally. On paper, it sounds amazing. In reality, it's a watered-down, overstuffed sequel that tried to appeal to a younger audience by cutting back the violence, and it ended up just pleasing pretty much no one. Fans were annoyed by the softer rating. The movie leaked online before release, and it ended up being weaker performer at the box office compared to the first two. Arnold does get a few fun moments and one-liners, but he's still inside character mode. This is less Arnold movie and more Where's Waldo, but with aging action heroes. Fun in parts, but absolutely lower tier in the grand Schwarzenegger rating. In 33rd place, we've got Collateral Damage, a very serious-faced terrorist revenge thriller where Arnold plays Gordy Brewer, a Los Angeles firefighter whose wife and son are killed in a bombing outside the Colombian consulate. He gets stonewalled by the system, so he does the most Arnold thing possible. Flies to Colombia to personally hunt down the guerrilla leader responsible, Claudio El Lobo Perini. It's directed by Andrew Davis, the guy behind The Fugitive, so on paper this should have been a tight, grounded thriller, but in reality it's pretty formulaic. It got delayed after 9/11 because of its terrorism storyline, and when it finally released in 2002, it landed to negative reviews and made less money than its budget worldwide. Arnold tries to play a regular guy instead of an indestructible tank, which is interesting, but the movie around him is just bland. It's not offensively bad, just aggressively mid. The kind of film you catch halfway through on TV and forget you ever saw. At 32, we've got Red Heat, Arnold's Cold War buddy cop experiment. He plays Captain Ivan Danko, a stoic Soviet policeman sent from Moscow to Chicago to bring back Georgian drug kingpin Viktor Rostavili. Once he's there, he's forced to team up with a loudmouthed Chicago detective Art Ridzik, played by Jim Belushi. It's directed by Walter Hill, the guy behind 48 Hours, and you can feel the DNA. Mismatched partners, culture clash, grumpy cops. The twist here is Arnold as a completely humorless Russian brick wall, while Belushi does all the talking and complaining. A lot of the Soviet Union scenes were actually filmed in Hungary, which is fun bit of trivia for somebody. The problem is that, compared to Arnold's other 80s work, this one just doesn't hit as hard. The action is okay, the jokes are okay, everything is okay. It's a perfectly watchable late-night cable movie, but when you're competing with Predator, Commando and The Running Man, pretty decent lands you down here at 32. In 31st place, Raw Deal, which feels like someone dared Arnold to star in a very traditional mob movie, and he said, "Sure, but I'm still blowing everything up." Here he plays Mark Kaminsky, a former FBI agent, now working as a small-town sheriff. He's recruited off the books by FBI agent Harry Shannon to infiltrate and destroy the Chicago mob outfit run by Luigi Petrovita after Shannon's son is killed. Kaminsky fakes his own death, goes undercover as an ex-con named Brenner, and starts climbing the ranks by turning gangsters into confetti. The movie was directed by John Irwin, had a modest budget, and made a modest box office return. Not a disaster, but nowhere near Arnold's big hits. You can actually see hints of him trying to be more grounded tough guy, but the script is pretty generic and it lacks the crazy energy of his best 80s films. Still, if you want to watch Arnold casually stroll into mob hangouts and redecorate them with bullets, it absolutely delivers that. Raw Deal. At 30, we have The Villain, released as Cactus Jack in some countries. And this one is just weird in a fun way. It's a live-action cartoon western directed by Hal Needham, starring Kirk Douglas as incompetent outlaw Cactus Jack Slade, Anne Margaret as Charming Jones, and a very young Arnold as the hilariously named cowboy Handsome Stranger. The whole movie is basically a Wile E. Coyote parody. Cactus Jack keeps setting traps to rob Charming and Handsome, and every single plan backfires in slapstick fashion. There is even an unusually smart horse named Whiskey, who's more competent than most of the humans. Arnold plays it completely straight. Big smile, pure-hearted, slightly dim hero, while chaos explodes around him. It wasn't a big hit at the time, and critics didn't really know what to do with it, but as a bizarre time capsule of what if Arnold did a Looney Tunes western, it's oddly charming. Not a good movie in the traditional sense, but definitely a memorable one, which is why it ranks a bit higher than the truly forgettable stuff. At 29 we've got Killing Gunther, the movie that proves you can technically star Arnold Schwarzenegger in a film without actually putting him in the film. This is a mockumentary action comedy, written and directed by Taran Killam. A bunch of wannabe hitmen hire a documentary crew to film their attempt to assassinate the world's greatest hitman, Gunther, played by Arnold. But here's the catch. The whole movie is about Gunther, but Arnold doesn't properly show up until the final stretch. With only a few minutes of actual screen time, critics summed it up pretty well. It feels like a sketch stretched to a feature length, even though Arnold is enjoyably over the top when he finally appears. It grossed under 200,000 at the box office and went mostly straight to VOD, which tells you how many people rushed to see it. Still, those last minutes are fun. Arnold hams it up, mocks his own legend, and basically walks off with the whole movie right before the credits roll. It's not good, but it's a weird little footnote in his career that I couldn't resist including. In 28th place is Sabotage, and it's Arnold doing a grim, ultra-violent crime thriller that almost nobody watched. Directed by David Ayer before Suicide Squad, but after End of Watch. The film follows Arnold as John Breacher Wharton, the leader of an elite DEA task force that raids a cartel safe house, skims millions in cash, and then watches members of the team start getting picked off one by one. On paper, it sounds like a brutal, grounded thriller, but in practice, critics slammed the movie for its messy story, thin characters, and violence that feels punishing rather than impactful, even while praising Arnold's more world-weary performance. Oh, and it also bombed at the box office, pulling in around 22 million worldwide on a reported 35 million budget. one of his weakest performers since the 80s. There is a cool idea here, an aging Arnold in a dirty, morally grey world, but the film is so grim and chaotic that it stops being fun to watch. It's like someone turned an edgy fan edit into a full movie. 27th place goes to Batman and Robin, a movie that somehow manages to be one of the worst Batman films ever made, and still absolutely iconic at the same time. Directed by Joel Schumacher and written by Akiva Goldsman, it stars George Clooney as Batman, Chris O'Donnell as Robin, Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, and Arnold as Mr. Freeze. Painted metallic blue and paid millions to deliver an endless barrage of ice puns. Critically, this thing was roasted. It sits near the bottom of DC movie rankings, got hammered for the campy tone, toy commercial aesthetics, and yeah, the infamous bat nipples. But over time, it's picked up a cult following as a so bad it's good neon nightmare of the late 90s. Arnold himself is honestly the most memorable part of the movie, well, except for the nipples. He chews through the dialogue like it's made of frozen protein bars, and every line is some variation of chill, freeze, or cool. As a film, it's a disaster, but as a meme, legendary. And don't you forget those nipples. That's why it's down here, but not all the way at the bottom. Not just because of the nipples. At 26, we have Conan the Destroyer, the sequel to Conan the Barbarian, and the moment the franchise went from brutal, heavy metal fantasy to family-friendly adventure with muscles. Released in 1984 and directed by Richard Fleischer, this one tones down the violence, goes for a PG rating, and leans into a more colorful quest structure. Conan escorts a young princess on a mission, picks up a party of companions along the way, including characters played by Grace Jones and Will Chamberlain, and they all fight wizards, some other creatures, and a big monster in Hall of Mirror sequence. And no joke, that sequence even today looks pretty cool. The problem is that after the raw mythic feel of the first film, this one feels lighter, sillier, and a lot less epic. Critics and fans generally see it as a weaker Conan movie, even if it does have its own nostalgic charm and more traditional adventuring party vibe. It's not terrible, it's actually pretty watchable as an 80s fantasy romp, but compared to Arnold's true classics, it just can't compete. So it lands here, fun, flawed, and very 1984. At 25 we've got Terminator Genisys, the movie that tried to reboot the entire franchise by throwing the timeline into a blender. This is the 5th Terminator film, directed by Alan Taylor, and it brings Arnold back as an aging T-800 nicknamed Pops. The idea is actually kind of cool. Kyle Reese goes back to 1984 like in the original, but finds out the timeline has changed. Sarah Connor was raised by a reprogrammed Terminator, and the future has basically gone off the rails. On the good side, Arnold is genuinely fun here. He leans into the old but not obsolete angle, plays a more fatherly machine, and ends up being the emotional core of a very messy movie. But on the bad side, critics absolutely hammered the film for its convoluted plot and retreaded ideas. And despite making over 400 million worldwide, it underperformed in the US and killed the planned new trilogy. So yeah, not a total disaster, but far from the glory days. It lands here as the definition of interesting failure with great Arnold performance. In 24th place is The Sixth Day, Arnold's early 2000s dive into sci-fi cloning paranoia. He plays Adam Gibson, a helicopter pilot in a near future where there's a company that can clone your dead pets, Repet, and a shady corporation secretly breaking laws about human cloning. Adam comes home one day and finds himself. Cue identity crisis. conspiracy, and a lot of guys in suits getting launched through glass. The premise is actually pretty strong. What makes you, you, if someone can copy your body and your memories? Critics agreed the concept was intriguing, but felt the movie turned into a pretty standard Arnold action vehicle instead of fully exploring the idea. That's basically the Rotten Tomatoes consensus in one sentence. Cool idea, routine execution. It's not bad, just very off its time. Lots of great tech sets, outdated future gadgets, and a script that plays it safe. Solid middle of the road Arnold. At 23, we jump way back to Stay Hungry, one of Arnold's earliest and most important movies, even if most casual fans have never seen it. Directed by Rob Rafelson, this is a southern comedy drama about Craig Blake, played by Jeff Bridges, a rich layabout in Birmingham, Alabama, who gets pulled into a shady real estate deal involving a local gym. At that gym, he meets receptionist Mary Tate, played by Sally Field, and charismatic Austrian bodybuilder Joe Santo, played by Arnold. This isn't an action movie at all, it's more about relationships, the New South, and this odd little subculture around bodybuilding. Arnold's performance as Joe Santo was so good, he actually won a Golden Globe for a New Star of the Year as an actor, which is a huge deal for a guy most people only knew from bodybuilding magazines at the time. The film itself is uneven but charming, and you can really see the early spark of his screen presence. Not something you marathon every year, but absolutely an important stepping stone in his career, so it earns the spot. In 22nd place we've got Aftermath, which might be one of the heaviest films Arnold has ever done. Directed by Elliot Lester, it's a slow, somber drama inspired by the real 2002 Überlingen mid-air collision, where a passenger plane and a cargo jet crashed into each other. Arnold plays Roman, a construction worker whose wife and daughter die in the crash. On the other side is an air traffic controller whose mistake contributed to the tragedy. The movie is all about grief, guilt, and the need for an apology that never really comes. There are no one-liners, no big action scenes, just Arnold delivering a quiet, restrained performance, as a man who has lost everything and doesn't know what to do with his pain. Critics were mixed on the film overall, but a lot of them highlighted how strong he is in this kind of subdued role. It barely made any money in theaters, and most people only discovered it on VOD, but as a late career acting showcase, it's surprisingly powerful. Definitely not a fun night with friends movie, but more like stare at the wall and think about life, which is why it sits here in the respectable lower middle of the list. At 21 we've got End of Days, Arnold's apocalyptic Y2K era fight the devil phase. He plays Jericho Kane, a burned out alcoholic ex-NYPD cop working private security in New York. It's December 1999. Satan shows up in a human body to find a woman destined to bear the Antichrist. And Jericho is the only guy depressed enough and angry enough to try and shoot the devil in the face. This one mashes together action, horror, and religious thriller vibes. We got gunfights, cults, stigmata, subway mayhem, all wrapped in that late 90s the millennium is cursed energy. Critics absolutely trashed it, and even though it made around 212 million worldwide on a reported 100 million budget, it was still considered a disappointment for the studio. But there is something fun about Arnold playing a broken, suicidal ex-cop who ends up going one-on-one with Satan. Yeah, it's clumsy, it's overblown, but it's also the kind of nonsense only the 90s could fund. And there you have it. Half of the Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies ranked from worst to pretty good. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, congratulations, you're halfway there. And second part is coming, well, hopefully soon. Also, this is just the beginning for this channel. I've got a ton of videos planned, more actors, we're gonna do directors, maybe even franchises, we'll see. We might even do some TV show ranking videos where I could rank every episode of a specific series from worst to best. So there's a lot of stuff to do. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Hit the like button so YouTube doesn't erase me from existence. Also drop a comment telling me which rankings you violently disagree with. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Also, I want to know, which movie ranking should I do next? Guys, you can give me ideas in the comments too. Maybe you want Stallone movies? Maybe Jim Carrey movies? Every Fast and Furious film? Maybe like top 10 best slasher villains? Throw your ideas in the comments and I'll check them all out. And hey, if you're into gaming, I've also got a whole other channel that has a lot of videos. It's called Toasted Gaming. It has similar style of videos, rankings, top 10s. So if you want even more content like this, go check that out too. So thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and thanks for joining me on the start of this new channel. More videos on the way.